Hey folks, on the screen are 4 different examples of wildflowers I took during this tutorial. I'm going to show you how I took these photos, how you can take the photos. The process is really simple. You can do it by yourself with 2 hands. You don't need a ton of special gear. You need a lens, a tripod, perhaps a reflector, and a willingness to go hike. Thanks for purchasing my tutorial. Let's get started. Field, you're going to see me using a few different pieces of equipment, and I might not be able to touch on all of them and the best use for all of them while I'm recording the video on how to do the wildflowers. So I wanted to do that right now. Some things you might want to consider when you go do wildflower photos. You might want to take, you saw me use a reflector. Actually, some use a diffuser, but what this is this is a 3-in-1 reflector, and it's a really awesome tool because you can get light onto flowers in dark areas that you want just by bouncing the sun. Like on the pair of pants right there, we're just bouncing the sun back into the scene. So this is a good tool to have for that, as well as what I more commonly use it for is the diffuser that you saw me do in the field the other day, or during the video. And what it does is, this reflector is a 3-in-1 reflector. It has 2 reflective sides, one that's gold, one that's silver, and I think there's a black side. That you're not going to use that, but you're going to really use this quite often. And what it does, if you look at the side of my face, you put this between the sun and the subject, and it softens the quality of light coming through onto the subject. And this effect can be modified. It can be stronger, or you can decrease it simply by how close it is or how far away it is to the subject. Okay, we can get a nice quality of soft light right here by putting the diffuser closer to the flower or my face in this video. Okay, this is an awesome tool to have. You can get these real cheap on Amazon. Preferably get one with a handle. They come in different shapes. They come in circular, and they come in ones like this. I like this one. It's got a handle. You could got a hole in the bottom. You can screw it onto a tripod if you want also. But this is really easy. A really nice tool to have. It folds up, and you're going to find that you use it quite a bit, not just in wildflowers, but in other types of photography as well. So we'll zip this back up, put it away, and show you how easy that is. Okay, and we'll just fold it up like this, and it fits right in the back of my camera bag. Okay, another thing you might want to consider is wildflowers, mushrooms, things low to the ground. Grass is wet. You might want to consider some not waterproof pants, but pants that are, these are a sort of like rain pants, but a lot more flexible, not as rigid as a rain pant. And these help you not have to worry about laying on the ground and getting close to a flower or something, and standing back up and looking like you peed yourself. So these are a real nice option to have too. Another real good option is this. It's a yoga pad, and what I do with this sometimes is, well, you can sit on it with your knees. You can lay on it with your stomach, and it just offers some padding so your knees don't get wore out in out there in the dirt or the grass, wherever you're doing your photography. It just offers some protection for your body, and it's nice to be able to set something on here. Say if the ground is wet or something, you don't want to set your camera down, you just set it right on top of this pad. Another few pieces of equipment you saw me use yesterday regularly was this tripod. This has a ball head. It's super nice because it can go in any position I want, landscape and portrait orientations. It can also go completely flat, which is a nice option to have as well. Okay, so it can go completely flat, and they sell tripods that do this same kind of thing. They sell them at Costco, they sell them on Amazon, places like that. You can get an inexpensive one for 60, 75 bucks. Find one that's in your budget. This is carbon fiber. You don't have to have that. As long as it has a ball head and it supports the weight of your camera and lens, that's what you want. And you can get them on Craigslist. You can get them at flea markets. You don't have to go out and spend a gob of money on this stuff. You want to keep it fun and simple, and that's what this video is about. It's about keeping it fun and simple and manageable when you're out there, using the equipment that, using the least amount of equipment you can get away with to produce good images. You're out there, you want your hands free, so you have a tripod. That way you can use your hands to hold diffusers and things like that. So you want to just go out there with some real basic equipment. You don't want to be overwhelmed with, 75 pieces of gear. You lose track of things, you lose the fun, you lose the focus. You go home feeling like you got your butt whipped because you didn't come back with anything good. So you want to keep the equipment simple, okay? There's a nice tripod, the diffuser. I did camera. You don't need this camera. A DSLR or a camera that can go into manual mode is nice. A camera that can go into live view mode is nice. Those two things are pretty nice to be able to have, and that's what I used in the video. So you'd probably get the most use out of the information I'm sharing with you with that type of camera. One that can go in manual mode, one that can go in live view, something that you can focus through on the back of the camera, not the viewfinder. And so that's really nice to have. I had a couple different lenses. You don't need these lenses. One is a 100mm macro. The other is a 200mm 2.8. These are both lenses that can open up really wide and get some good separation, wide maximum aperture. You don't need these lenses. Let me tell you real quick, any lens that you have is going to work. Just open the lens up as far as it'll go, okay? If 5.6 is as wide open as you can get that lens, use that lens, it's fine. These just offer some different options for minimum focusing distance and wider apertures and things like that. And so that's why I had these. But whatever lens you have is going to work, all right? So don't worry about, oh, I need to have this lens, I need to have that lens. It's going to make me a better photographer. It's not going to make you a better photographer. It'll make you spend more money, and it'll create some different images and different, features in your images. It's not going to make you a better photographer. If you don't know how to use your camera, all the lens is going to do is sit on a camera you don't know how to use. So don't worry about that right now. Just use the lens you got. That's the best one, okay? Some other these are really important items to have too. And this is a little Giotto Rocket Air, it's called. And this is just used for, shooting blasts of air onto your gear, cleaning inside your lens. I'll show you real quick. Out there in the dust and the trails, things happen. Dust flies, aim this downward. Put a few blasts of air in there, that cleans it out. Same thing with the front. Try not to wipe anything across the front of your lens. Try to do it with just a little puff of air, okay? And that's going to save you a lot of dust and debris on the front of your lens. And then you go to wipe it with a microfiber cloth, and you just drag that stuff across your lens, and now you've ruined your good lens. So try to use one of these. Let me bring it closer to the camera so you can see. Just a little rocket blaster. Squirts a blast of air onto the lens or into the body of the camera. Okay, and that's important to have. What else is in the bag? Media cards. Make sure you have these in your camera bag or in your camera before you go out into the field. Nothing worse than getting out there. You got everything set up and you turn on your camera and it says no card. That's a bad trip. So I use CF cards. Don't get cheap imitation, ones. Get name brand ones. They might cost you a little bit, but they're going to be worth it. Your pictures are going to be there when you get home. They're not going to be corrupted. They're going to write fast. That's one place you don't want to be cheap. Get a good quality media card for your files to go on. Okay. What else was in my bag yesterday? Tons of batteries. I keep extra batteries. I've got about 6 batteries I keep with me. You know, my camera body houses 2 batteries, and then I got 4 more in my bag. Make sure they're charged up before you go out. When you shoot live view and you focus live view like I do in the video, and you'll see that drains the battery quite a bit. So you want to make sure you have, you know, full battery and a spare, you know, at minimum, because live view really drains the battery, and I use live view to focus. So get you a couple batteries. What else was in my bag? You might not have seen this, but it was on the first shot. It was in between my camera body and the lens. What these are extension tubes, and they just minimize the focusing distance of your lens. So you'll see in the very first video, or in the very first part of the video, when I shoot that blue Dix flower, you'll see one of these rings mounted on my camera with the lens. You don't have to have this. I just want to tell you about it because you might see it in the video. And what that does is it takes a lens that would normally have a minimum focusing distance, say of, you know, 4 feet. It allows me to get in there to 2 feet and receive the same benefit that lens would have to offer as far as compression and things like that go, in the wide maximum aperture and stuff like that. So all these do is they just decrease the minimum focusing distance. You don't have to have that. It's just something that I use because I like it. And if you do want those are a Kinko brand. You can get these on Amazon. They're about $100 for a set of 3. If you do get them, do not get the $20 ones. You will ruin your camera body mount. You will ruin your lens mounts. You will be mad that you got those $20 ones. Do not get those. They've got $10 ones also. Do not get those. Spend the money and get the right ones if you really want to get those and you don't need them. But if you want to get them, spend the money and get the quality ones. You're not going to be disappointed. Hey, Mike here at Pacheco Park, and we're going to do some wildflower photography. Show you how simple and fun this can be. Show you what we've got here. We've got plenty of blue Dix, Goldfields, buttercups. These are owl's head clover here, I think is what this are, owl's head. We've got the blue Dix. We've got some fiddlenecks. These are some of the fiddlenecks here. Pretty flowers. Anyway, I think right here what I want to do is I want to focus on some of these blue Dix that you guys see. There's a little breeze out. We're going to go ahead and set up some real simple equipment. So some things you want to consider real quick. I don't come and walk with my camera already set up and lens on it and everything like that. I wait till I get to where I want to go, where I see that I want to, you know, take my photos. Here I've got a good variety of different types of flowers, so I think this is a pretty good spot to set up. So once I'm in the location that I want, I'll bring my gear out. Okay, I don't ever bring my bag into over there where I'm going to take the photos. I'll leave it out here so that I don't lose anything in the tall grass. If you want to lose batteries, if you want to lose memory cards, go ahead and take your gear out there in the tall grass. So at any rate, I've got everything set up out here. I'm gonna put my lens on the camera out here, and the reason I'm gonna do this, I've got my camera aimed downward on the tripod, so that with no lens attached to it yet. And the reason I aim everything down is that way nothing, when I take my cap off the body and I expose the sensor and the mirror, everything my camera is facing down, so nothing can fall inside of the body of the camera in the mirror and the sensor area. No dirt, no dust, no sweat is going to fall down inside there. So I attach my lens with the camera body facing down. Okay, and that's really important because you're out here where there's dust. You're out here where there's things flying around. Wind can blow a piece of bark or leaf, or a bug can fly in there. You want to avoid that. I set my gear up when I get to where I want to take the pictures, and I do it in an area that is flat and fairly clear of any type of grass or things that might get into my bag. Okay, so, and what I was saying about having your camera body facing down so nothing falls into your lens when you're out here in an area that's full of dust, leaves flying, bugs might fly in there. Keep the camera body facing down. Take the body lens cap off. Put it directly into your bag because you will lose it. You will forget it. Okay. Go ahead and attach your lens. Make sure you hear the click. Put the pieces right away back in the bag. Bright sunlight, and any time you always want to use a lens hood. Okay, once you get everything set up, remember, don't set up where you're going to take your photos in the tall grass. Set up out here where it's clear, where you got a good view of your gear. You can't lose anything in the tall grass. You set up and then you go walk to where you're going to do your photos. Okay, so we got our gear out. You know, we picked our spot. We got our gear out. We put our lens on. Okay, I'm on a tripod here. And we're going to take a shot of this little cluster of blue dicks. Okay, all we're going to do is we're going to pick an aperture. We're going to pick a shutter speed. And we're going to pick an ISO. The camera's in manual mode. I'm going to set my ISO to 100. We're in bright sunlight. Okay, set the ISO to 100. I know that I want a little separation in my background. I don't want the flower in focus and then everything behind it in focus. So in order to get that separation, I'm going to set my aperture at f4. I'm going to leave it there all day long. Okay, it's really bright sunlight out. Okay, that's whether I'm going to shoot under a tree or I'm going to shoot in bright sunlight. The only thing I'm going to change all day is my shutter speed. I'm going to leave it at f4. I'm going to leave it at ISO 100. The only thing we're going to change to make the picture lighter or darker is shutter speed. Okay, that's all we're going to worry about, changing the shutter speed. Here we're in bright sunlight, so I'm going to tell you what my settings are real quick, and this is going to change throughout the day, but the only thing we're going to change is going to be the shutter speed. Right here we're at 1/2000th of a second, f4, ISO 100. Okay, I'm on a 2-second timer, and that way I can hold the camera and record. And so the only thing we're going to change is the shutter speed. Okay, so we're all set up on the tripod. We've got our flower that we want to shoot. The way I'm going to focus on this flower is I'm not going to use autofocus. We're in manual mode. I'm in manual focus mode. I'm going to take my camera and go to live view. Okay. I'm going to use my zoom. Hit my 10 times magnification button. It may be different on your camera, but you ultimately want to be in live view. You want to magnify in on the flower, and you want to manually focus, turning your focus ring on your lens until you get this, your subject, in focus. Okay. Once you get focus, we're going to go ahead and take a test exposure and make sure that everything is set to give me a good balanced exposure. Okay, so I'm going to fire my first shot, and it's on timer mode, and we kind of got a little breeze out here, so we're going to shoot in between little gusts of wind. Okay, now that's my first shot. Let's take a look at that on the camera back and see what we've got. Okay, this is image 933. I'll put that up on screen now.
So what I want to talk about in this first image is that it's dark, it's underexposed, and that's okay. It's a test image. It's the first image that we take to make sure, just to see where we're at. You don't have to get your exposure right on the first shot. Don't worry about it if you don't. Obviously here I didn't, and that's okay. That's how it goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust our shutter speed to a slower shutter speed. to let in more light and get a better exposure on this image. Watch the next shot.
Okay, if I wanted to change the exposure, say for example I thought the exposure was a little dark, all I would do is I would change my shutter speed. We're still at f4, we're still at ISO 100. So to let more light in, because my picture is dark, I want a slower shutter speed. So I'll roll my exposure, or I'll roll my shutter speed from 1/2000th of a second, which is what I'm at now. And we'll go down to, I'll go from 1/2000th.
So what I did is I went from 1/2000th of a second down to 1/500th of a second. If you look at the image on the left, it was the first R image. It was underexposed and dark. Remember, shutter speed controls the ambient. So by slowing the shutter down from 1/2000th to 1/500th, we get the picture on the right. A much lighter picture, a much better exposed picture, and overall it looks better. It's a good place to start for us now. Remember, don't worry about getting the exposure right on the first shot. You know, if you do, perfect. You know, you should strive to get it within the first 3 shots, but at any rate, you know, the point is the first shot is a test shot to see where you're at. You should get it by the second or third shot, and we did here. We got a nice exposed image on the right side here, and we went from 1/2000th down to 1/500th of a second.
Once you've got your camera set up, you've got your subject in the, you know, you've got it composed, you've got your focus locked, you go ahead and take your shot, you're happy with your exposure. What I want to do here is I want to use what's called the diffuser. And all this does is it makes the light softer or it makes the light harsher. You're just blocking the sun, like putting a big old bed sheet in between you and the sun. So we're going to use that on the camera. I'm going to go ahead and put this diffuser between the flower and the sunlight behind me, and it's going to change the quality of light and it's going to change the quantity of light hitting the flower. So we may find that we need to slow our shutter speed down a little bit more in order to keep the exposure correct, because the amount of light hitting the flower is going to be lessened because we're putting a light modifier in front of it. So, okay, we'll put this diffuser in the front, push the shutter actuation, the timer is going to go off and we're going to get an exposure. Okay, there we go. That's image 9937, and I'll put that up on the screen now. Nice one, nice soft light. Blue Dick's flower, we'll put it up on screen now.
Okay, so looking at the image on the left, that's the one that we got the proper exposure on. We slowed down the shutter from 1/2000th to 1/500th of a second, let in more light. Now, if you look at the quality of light on this image, there's the right amount of light, but the quality is really harsh. Here's this really delicate flower with, you know, nice purple, glowing hues and stuff, and the quality of the midday sun is horrible on it. Okay, not the quantity of midday sun, just the quality of it. So what we did is we put that diffuser in there, and as the sunlight passes through the diffuser onto the flower, it spreads the light around. It softens that light up and makes the flower look more pleasing, more delicate. It just changes the quality and quantity of the light a little bit and creates a much better effect. And so that being said, you don't have to have a diffuser, but they are nice to have if you want to change the quality of light, especially if you're out in the midday shooting uncovered, you know, outside of some shade or something like that, and you happen to find some flowers that, you know, that are in bad lighting. You can just whip out a diffuser and use it, and you'll get this type of effect. Okay, let's get going.
Out here, Pacheco Park. It's a hot day. Hot day. Meadowlark singing. Here by this oak tree. Beautiful day. Let's get some wildflower pictures. Okay, so I've changed location. We're going to shoot the same type of flower. We shoot this cluster of blue dicks. Now you see we're in a shaded area. It's really shady here. And I picked this spot on purpose. I wanted to show you guys and gals what I'm talking about the shutter speed is the only thing you need to change throughout the day to get the correct exposure.
I'm still at f4. Let's see what we're on the camera. I'll let you guys take a look. Okay. Still at f4. Still at ISO 100. I'm at 1/200th of a second here. Okay. Shutter speed. The more light comes in. We're in a dark area. Okay. So I want to be able to get a good exposure. So all I'm doing is I'm slowing my shutter speed down and getting bit by bugs. Okay. So, and you can see by looking at the flower, there's a little bit of a breeze. Okay. A little bit of a breeze. And the reason that's important to take into consideration is because there's on your focus. We're going to go through the same process, okay? I'm going to go to live view. Okay. I don't know how well this will focus on the camera back, but we're on live view. We're on manual focus. My camera's in manual mode, always. Okay. Now you can. I'm on JPG. I mean, I'm on RAW, but you can shoot JPG if that's what you need to do. This video is just about taking pictures of wildflowers. Simple, easy wildflowers or flowers in your garden. Doesn't matter. If JPG is what you want to shoot in, start out in JPG. Okay. So back to the focus. Pun intended. Okay. You can see the flower waving around there in my on the camera back. That's why the breeze, I was telling you to be mindful of the breeze. Okay, what I want to do is I'm just getting this in focus. Once I've rolled the camera into focus, okay, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and go to 2-second timer. Since I'm holding the camera and recording, I want a little bit of a timer on here. Okay, I'm going to start off on purpose with the last settings that I used for the last flower that I did that was in bright sunlight. The reason I want to do that is I want to show you, okay, we were at 1/500th of a second, okay, with the diffuser out there. So let's go to 1/500th of a second. We're going to take this picture here, and I'm going to show you it's going to be dark, okay. Looking at this histogram, it's far to the left. Looking at the picture, this is image 9941. I'll put that up on screen now. You can see it's a dark image. Okay, that was the setting for out there in the bright sunlight where we were. Okay, now remember, the only thing we're changing, aperture's the same, ISO's the same. We're just going to slow this shutter speed down to 1/160th of a second. Take the same picture. Bring this up on screen now. Image 9942. Much brighter image. Much better exposed image. It's a little soft, so we'll go ahead and get some focus again. You know, these are things you just have to consider out here in the field. I mean, you're going to have to take more than one picture, you know, sometimes to get it, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you suck at photography. It doesn't mean you're never going to get it. Oh, this camera's whooping my butt. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means it's real. You're out here in the field taking pictures of flowers. There's wind, there's bugs, there's sun, there's sweat, spiders. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the same picture. Okay, image 9943. I'm going to bring that up on screen now. And I'm going to zoom in. Yeah. Okay, image 9943. Much sharper, okay? Okay, now I want to show you another thing. So some other things to consider in doing your photography of wildflowers, things that I found helpful too, is this area is pretty well covered in shade, and I like that. There's no, for example, this flower here is pretty evenly lit, as opposed to this flower here where we've got some bright spots, some darker spots, and some brighter spots there. Okay, you want to try to find areas that the flowers are in where the lighting or the shade is even. Okay, And the reason that's important is because it's going to make the image a more even image. The camera can only expose, or you can only get the camera to expose when you're in manual mode or auto mode. If it's exposing for the shadows, the brights are going to be overexposed. If you're exposing for the highlights, then the shadows are going to be super dark. So you want to find an evenly lit scene so that you have control over the light, so that you have control over the exposure, and the final image is a nice evenly lit image. Look at this big old bug. Okay, I don't want that mosquito to land on me. Let's keep going. Okay, so here I've changed my lens. This is a 100mm macro lens. Once again, it doesn't matter what lens you have. The process is just the same. I've only changed this lens because it allows me to get really close to this flower here. And so that's why I've changed the lens. Now, my tripod here, it helps to have a tripod, if you're going to be using one, that has a ball head and that can go flat, like this one here. Okay, if you can get it flat, and they sell them at Costco. I see them on Amazon. I recommend a Slick, but get whatever one's in your budget. Aluminum is nice and light. Carbon fiber doesn't rust. It's just whatever's in your budget. As long as it has a ball head, it can support the weight of your camera and lens, then that's the right one for you. Okay, and so anyway, same process. Let me just talk about this flower now. I saw this here, and there's a few things in front of the lens, so we want to kind of just manicure the area a little bit, pull a few little things out. Let's see if I can bring this up. And like I say, what I've done is I found my flower. This one here is in the bright sunlight. Okay, I've set my camera up. I've got the right lens that I'm going to be using for this flower. And the reason I change lenses is because I use prime lenses. I just feel they're sharper and they're lighter than telephotos and zoom. This is a macro lens that allows me to get close to the subject. Okay, the minimum focusing distance is very close. I can get this close to that flower with this lens. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead, isn't that meadowlark singing? Okay, I'm going to go ahead, turn my camera on, okay. I'm going to go in live view mode. I'm going to zoom in on this flower. Now it's windy, so it's going to be tough getting focus, okay. And I want to show you real quick, my settings are all the same. Remember, we're at f4. If we can see this, f4, ISO 100, exactly the same. We're in bright sunlight. My last picture was in a heavily shaded area, so I had a slow shutter speed. I'm going to start out up here, since I'm at f4 in bright sunlight, I'm going to start out at 1,000th of a second, okay? White balance, set to daylight, okay? I'm on a 2-second timer. Whoops, on a 2-second timer, okay? Manual mode. So, make sure that my lens here is on manual focus and image stabilizer is off. Okay, sounds good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, forgive me for this. This is a one-person job. I mean to say that you can take these pictures just by yourself. It's just I'm holding this camera and doing that and doing everything. It makes it a little tougher. But normally you just come out here with your camera, a diffuser if you want, and a tripod. That's all you need, and you're just fine. I'm going to show you here in a second. Let me go ahead and focus on this flower. Okay, right there. Now what we want to be able to do is, it is windy, so I want to try to, not windy, but it's breezy. There's little gusts of breeze, kind of like when you're doing the ocean. There's sets of waves, there's little gusts of breeze. You want to try to time it in between the little gusts of breeze so that you get a still, your flower is very still when you go to take this picture. And so right now the first picture I'm going to take this picture. We're going to time this, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to turn my timer off actually. Okay, then I'm going to go and wait for the breeze to stop, which it probably won't now because I'm waiting for it to stop. going to set this here so you can get a picture of the view of the flower. Okay, so I'm going to wait for it real quick. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me I want to look at my exposure. Okay, this is image 9944. Okay, we're a little dark. And that's okay, you're not going to get it right the first time, every time. It doesn't work like that. Looking at this histogram, it's really dark. So what we're going to do, remember what I said, shutter speed controls the ambient light. I'm going to go up here. We're going to go down to 1/400th of a second. Okay. There's no breeze. I'm going to take the picture. Here we go. Okay, now, a couple things to look at. There is a blinky in here, which means that there's some clipping. A certain part of that flower, this is a really reflective flower, a certain part of that flower is really reflecting some light more so than the other parts of the flower, and I'm getting clipping, which means that it's overexposed to the point where there's no data, no information in that part of the flower. So what I want to do to minimize the amount of reflection coming through there and the harsh light, I'm going to use a diffuser. Okay, I'm going to put this between the sun, the flower, and my GoPro. Okay, there we go. I think that'll work. So I'm going to take the same picture again. Take my shutter speed down just a little bit more. We're going to take the same picture again. Oh yeah, here we go. I like this. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're at image 9946. So between the last image that we took and this one, we can see, and I'll bring it up on screen, we can see that the blinky is gone. Okay, let me zoom back out here. The histogram is right in the middle. The flower is nice, evenly, softly lit. Okay, and that's 9946. I'm going to take another shot. Okay, the same flower. I'm going to go down to 1/250th of a second. Let's take that one more time. Okay, but you see the quality of light that, the way the diffuser modifies the light. It really, I'm going to set this on a timer and then set it up by hand. Forgive me, but I've only got two hands, and so it makes it a bit tough to juggle everything. Okay, we'll set this on a 10-second timer. There we go. We'll take this picture. But you see the way the diffuser changes the quality and quantity of light when it hits the flower? Bing, there we go. 9947. Okay, let me bring that up on screen. Okay, cool. So what I want to talk about next is out here in the country, you'll find fence posts and old rusty barbed wire and, you know, open pastures and some cool, you know, opportunity for different compositions. And this fence post here happens to have some of these fiddleneck flowers on them. Really pretty. Nice distressed wood. The sunlight is, well, it's off over there. It's getting up high above me. But it's not going to be an issue because I'm going to put a diffuser over this. And I'm going to real quick back up and show you my setup. You know, this tripod here, I can spread the legs out and get good support and stability because my camera's actually pretty heavy with the battery grip and the lens. But like I say, you don't need this tripod. You don't need this camera. You don't need this lens. Grab what you have, take it outside. Remember that, set your aperture, set your ISO, leave those alone the rest of the day. Just change your shutter speed until you get the exposure you want. Okay, tripod helps, and I use a tripod during wildflowers because it's just easier to get composition and maintain focus and everything when your camera is on something sturdy and not my shaky body. Okay, frees me up to walk around and do other things like blow dust off my camera and out of my viewfinder. Okay, anyway, so enough rambling. I'm set up, got my composition,
there's a fiddleneck flower I want to take a picture of. I really like the way these flowers look. And I always mix up the name with fiddleback, thinking fiddleback spider, but I don't want pictures of fiddleback spiders. Thank you. But this, look at this. It's a really pretty flower. So let's go ahead. Okay. First thing I want to do, I've been tramping around through dusty fields. So I'm going to remove my lens hood, and I'm just going to blow off my lens. Get any dust, anything that might be on there. Put my lens cap, my lens hood back on. Excuse me, let me put my lens hood back on. I've only got two hands. Okay, put my lens hood back on. Okay, blow my dust off. Remember, my camera gear is not in the tall grass, so I lose everything. My camera gear is back over here on the level ground. Okay, we're gonna go ahead into live view. Turn my camera on, get in live view. We're gonna focus. I'm gonna zoom in on that fiddleneck flower. We're gonna achieve focus. Okay, it's windy, so like I say, we're gonna have to take a few shots to get the right one, to make sure one of these is going to be in focus, because there is a little bit of wind out here. Okay, so I'm going to put this on timer mode. Let's put it on 2-second timer. Okay, actually, you know what, yeah, 2-second timer, because I have to hold the diffuser and I have to hold this camera, so we'll put it on 10-second timer. Okay, now remember, my aperture f4 all day, my ISO 100 all day. Only thing I'm changing is the shutter speed. This is really bright out here. We're at f4 because I want to keep that separation. I want this behind me to blur off into the background, create a soft background and a sharp flower against a sharp piece of wood. So I'm thinking right here, just a starting point for shutter speed. Let's do 1/500th of a second. And this may change because I'm going to put that diffuser over it. Okay, 1/500th of a second. I don't care if this one is blurry necessarily. I just want to see my exposure. 10 seconds, come on. There it goes. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, let's take a look at just the exposure. Image 9948. I don't care about sharpness or anything right now. 9948. Put that up on screen now. And looking at the histogram, we're pretty good. I think by the time I put the diffuser over it, we're going to have a really good exposure. So let me grab the diffuser and see how I can manage this. Push the button, then I'll set this up. There we go. Got my diffuser over it. We may take another picture. Like I say, we're gonna have to take a couple because it's breezy and I want to get a sharp picture. So let's see what we got. Okay, 9949. I think this one is a little bit dark. What I want to do,
Okay, couple quick things I want you to notice in these two images. The one on the left was the first image that we did, where we were just establishing our base exposure to make sure, you know, our shutter speed was right. The image on the right is the same exact exposure values. The only difference was I put the light modifier over the top. The diffuser took away all the harsh shadows and reflections and changed the quality of light falling onto this fiddle neck flower. So I wanted to point those two things out. I still think the image on the right is a little dark. I'm going to slow the shutter speed down in the next frame and you'll see the whole image improve. But I want you to just take note of the effect of the light modifier. You don't have to have this, but it's good to have one.
Go down here to 1/400th of a second, 1/320th. Let's do that. Okay, 1/320th of a second. Slow the shutter down, let a little more light in. Let's take the same picture. And this is all I'm doing. It's on a tripod. Got my diffuser over top.
And I think I'm liking this one. Yes, this is nice. 9950. Got a nice picture of a fiddleneck. Let me zoom in and take a look at the focus. Okay, it's a little soft. You know, you gotta, I mean, it takes a couple times. We're out here fighting wind and other stuff, so it really... Okay, there we go. Let's take another one. And that's what it is. I mean, don't be scared or mad or feel like you got your butt whooped by your camera gear, because you got to take 3 or 4 or 5 exposures to get the shot right. There's wind, there's clouds moving in front of the sun, there's dust, there's all kinds of stuff. So don't feel like, oh, I didn't get it the first time, I'm going to suck at photography. It's not it at all. Image 9951, we'll put that up on the screen. I like that one. Okay. Don't think that wildflowers is not work. Whew. Out here hiking. It's hot in Pacheco. It's a nice day. It's hot. I want to rotate the camera around real quick and show you. Okay. I found, I don't know what flower this is, but I mean, it just looks incredible. It's like plastic, pearly petals on there, and it's just really cool. So once again, same process I'm going to show you. This is really, really simple, and there's no hard and fast rules I think you need to be aware of in photographing wildflowers. The only hard and fast rule is get the exposure right. Get you some detail in the shadows, get you some detail in the highlights, expose the image the correct way. I don't really think it matters how you get there. I'm going to take the picture of this cool white flower. It looks like the kind of ribbon that they put on the bows, the bows that they put on the boxes at Christmas. It's really kind of cool. So once again, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to verify these settings for you guys all day. My shutters, my ISO's been 100. Okay. Get back up here. All day my ISO's been 100. All day my f-stop's been f4. I've only changed my shutter speed. Now right here, we're in about the same light as the time I did the fiddle neck photo. So we're going to see if we can get away with the same f-stop, the same shutter speed. However, what you have to be mindful of in this flower is it's all white. Okay, so we want to make sure that we can get some of the detail in there. And let me put this right in there. Okay, give me 1 second. We're going to click the shutter. 10-second timer. Okay, we'll take a few shots, like I say, because it's windy. Okay, tripod, timer. I'm holding the diffuser. That's all you need. You only need one person to do this, unless you're carrying a GoPro. Let's take a look at that image. Oh, wow. Okay, now that's image 9952. Wow, that's nice. Okay. Now, that does fade out with f4. Keep in mind, I want to show you something here. It's a little more advanced, but I think you guys will do fine. Okay, from the plane of focus, this is the front of the flower, this is the back of the flower. F4, we've got a lot of fall off, and you can see what I mean by fall off is it begins to get out of focus very quickly from the front of the flower to the back of the flower from this angle. So here I am going to throw a little bonus in. I'm going to change my f-stop. I'm going to go up here to 5.6, okay? So now that means smaller aperture, less light. I need to change my shutter speed. We'll go down here to 1/100th of a second, okay? We'll take the same picture, and more of the flower will be in focus from front to back on this shot, okay? There we go. Let's take a look and see what we got. Okay, 9953. We got a few blinkies, okay, which means that I can go up here. Let's do 1/160th of a second. And we should be good on this one, okay? I mean, I'm happy if you can get the shot on manual mode in 3 shots. Man, you're doing it. There we go. No blinkies, man. 9954. Good Lord, that's a nice, pretty picture. Really, really like that. Okay, I'll put that up on screen. So, here it is. Camera, tripod, diffuser. It doesn't take much more. I don't care what tripod you have. It's nicer with the ball head tripod and one that goes totally flat. But I don't care what tripod you have. Use the one you have. Okay? Use the camera you have. DSLR, yeah, one you can go to manual mode is obviously going to be the best choice, I think, because I'm showing this video in manual mode, shooting in manual mode. But go out and use the camera you have. Don't be scared of manual mode. Don't be scared in trying to get the exposure right the first time. I'm showing you here, it takes 2-3 times sometimes to get it right. And that's part of the fun of this. Go out, see some wildflowers, explore your world, reveal life through your camera lens. Have fun. Don't feel like you just got out of Kung Fu theater when you're done with your photography trip because you feel like your gear whooped your butt. And you're scratching your head and sweaty and fumbly and mad and shaky because you just can't figure this out. It's really simple, okay? What I'm showing you in this video is really simple. Grab your gear, go out and do some wildflower photos. Take care.